kind of like the opposite. Like I suck at brevity. Like making an Instagram reel for me is really hard for me to like reduce down. I'm an oversharer, so I make things really long and way too complicated. I'm not very good at keeping things short. Brandon, for you, what was it like to go the opposite way, to like be really good at short content to now make an entire documentary?
It was definitely a different experience. So, a lot of times, and I like to kind of, if I'm working with a big client who has a very specific vision, they might have a script and have things scripted out and have it exactly how they want it to go, and I just kind of put that together. But a lot of times I have clients who trust me and they know that they know their strengths, they know my strengths. So I kind of like sometimes taking an idea and building something, you know, getting the footage, getting voiceover stuff, and creating like a little 5 minute video for a company or something like that. And so that's typically how I do that. Once we started getting into all these interviews and we started having 2 hours of footage of each person in the documentary, and we, all this stuff, all this information we wanted to cover, we had people talking about the same thing. Like I learned very quickly that we were going to have to get a lot more organized. So luckily, Whitney is very good at organization. So she came in, we sat down, we had to watch all the interviews multiple times. She made a spreadsheet like, okay, we're talking about red three here. This person, so we had like a little spot for each specific little point that we were making. And honestly, when we started this, I had no idea how much work it was going to be. Like I thought we could get it done in about a year, maybe. So we're going on a year or 2.5 years, right?
Yeah, we just completed our second year.
So it's much more complex, and also the project kind of grew.
It evolved.
It evolved when we first started. We didn't know anybody in the scientific world. We had a couple of friends who we had mentioned die to, and they'd had a good experience. So we're like, maybe we'll just interview these people that we know. Maybe we'll meet a couple of people on the internet and kind of try to get a couple of scientists to say some stuff. And it just God slowly opened door after door. We met with one person that like I know this person, and we met with Lisa, who used to work for Center for Science and the Public Interest, and she really like exploded the door for us and got us in with all the researchers and even some of the families. So it's been a really cool experience. Um, Looking at it now, I've enjoyed it. Looking at the beginning, if you would have told me how much work it would have been, I might have been like, I don't know about that.
Well, and he was a little bit reluctant at the beginning because the way we started our journey was, obviously like, or I guess your viewers may not know, but our son has a neurologic reaction to synthetic dyes. And so we had a few years where we were really struggling with just like not being able to keep his hands to himself and just being overstimulated and hurting friends and biting and hitting. Um, and I should preface this by saying he's always been like a super sweet, kind, like good boy. Like he really has. And a lot of people that hear, okay, we're struggling with hitting and biting, like a lot of that can be normal, but it was happening like over and over and over and over. And so once we found out it was synthetic dyes, my head started really spinning because really the only place he was consuming synthetic dyes regularly was his medication. And like it's over the counter medication. This wasn't a prescription
Allergy
medication. It
medicine.
was allergy medicine. So he had chronic ear infection. So he was always on allergy medication. And so once we just basically took away the allergy medication, it's like, oh, the behavior stopped. He was out of his Rev 40 loop. And so like my brain was spinning and I went down like the Google rabbit hole trying to figure out like what's going on with synthetic dyes. And like I started to try to read the research, and my background is in education. So like even just reading the abstract was really confusing to me. So I really wanted to talk to researchers and ask them questions and try to figure out what was really going on. And so I asked Brandon to document our journey, and reluctantly, but thankfully he said yes.
Well, I mean,
Wow.
if your wife comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to make a documentary," and at this point, like
Spend our own money.
at this point, I believe that dyes were a thing. In the very beginning, I was kind of reluctant that this was even possible, a part of what was going on with him. But so yeah, when your wife comes up to you and says like, we should make a documentary, that's gonna take a long time and a lot of work. We still work full-time jobs. I have a business that I run, and so
Just
like,
work part-time.
so at first I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know if we have time to do that. But she also started a Facebook group around the same time, figuring all this out, and like it just really started growing and growing and growing. Within 2 years, we reached 580,000 people in that group.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but even early on, we were seeing numbers that were crazy. Like in the first couple of months, we were in the tens of thousands of people that have joined this group. So we saw that there was a need and a desire for this information. And you know how like Facebook and social media is, if you're getting that number of people in your group, that's probably just a small percentage of the actual people who want that kind of
Well,
information.
that's really at no credit to us either. I think what it is people are searching for answers. And so when they found a Facebook group, like just people started joining. And for whatever reason, Facebook favored us. God brought those people to us. And I mean, something similar has happened with our Facebook page as well, like our documentary film page. It has really blown up too. What are our numbers at right now? Almost 40,000.
We'll hit 40,000 this week.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy because like we haven't spent any money in all of our marketing. We've not spent any money on ad spend. It's all been organic. And I think that really has to do with people are just really eager to learn about this information. There's nothing else on the market. There's no other synthetic dye documentary. There's very little research, or I mean there's tons of research, but there's very little information for the consumer. So aside from like TikTok videos, like people don't really feel like there's a super credible source, I guess, to take all this information that's very scientifically backed and then, get it out to the public. I don't know that that really exists right now. So that's really what we're trying to do. In addition to our film, like our heart is to really break this information down and put it in bite-sized chunks so that the consumer can be able to change their life and to make swaps, synthetic dye swaps, and for their families to also be happy and find swaps that they love and not just, go on like a kale and sardine diet, which I mean, we're all about whole foods. Like we really are. This journey for us started off with, I mean, I've always looked at things. I've always wanted, and we've always purchased mostly like organic foods, which is ironic that we're doing this and that our son was consuming synthetic dyes. But I've always kind of leaned toward that. But this has really been almost like a gateway drug to, oh my goodness, there's tons of chemicals. And we've become much more serious at looking at everything and not just what our children eat. So it's really opened up a lot of doors in that for us.
Wow, that's incredible. I just don't know many other fields that would drive people to go to the lengths that you guys are going to share this message. I mean, you see in this world of like nutrition where you're talking largely to an audience that has already found low carbohydrate or ketogenic or carnivore diets because they feel bamboozled, they've suffered, they've experienced all kinds of digestive issues or mental issues or whatever, and they've had to find alternate solutions and go on unconventional paths to try to find healing. And I don't see this same level of passion in many other areas like you guys are into, like to tell this story and to do it properly, taking 2.5 years to going to these lengths in your free time and not even as your primary job, in your free time to tell the story and to see that response already. Like the documentary hasn't even come out yet, to get that response from the public. I think you're absolutely right. I think people are pissed that they're being lied to and they're trying to find other alternative solutions. So I think your work is amazing. It's so cool.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, we definitely, and I can say for anybody out there that's working on like social media content, one thing that has helped us is that I am the key audience. Like in both our group and in our film page, it's 96% women from ages 24 to 44. So I'm 33, so I'm right there in that sweet spot. I am the consumer. And so like we're also going through this journey. So what I need as a consumer, I'm just making those resources for other people. So I do think that that helps. And then we also, like we've spent 2 years serving our audience. Like we really genuinely want to help people. So like it's difficult sometimes because you're creating things and not getting anything back. But what we are getting is we're getting loyalty. We have an army of people that are willing to go to bat and make changes on the behalf of everyone in the United States about synthetic dyes. Like we have noticed that our audience, for whatever reason, they are really willing to get behind the things that we say. And I think that's because I think that they ultimately see that we are trying our best to, help people.
Well, it's been interesting too, because, like, I don't know if it's because of our demographics or whatever, but Facebook, I would have thought that Instagram would have been initially probably where we would have had the most growth, but Facebook has been huge. Like our Instagram is growing, and it's growing, consistently.
We started that more recently too.
Yeah,
though.
but for whatever reason, Facebook, like if you're gonna join one or the other, join the Facebook group, and because there's a it's pretty powerful.
No, please join our
itself.
Instagram.
Yeah, and join our
Please.
Instagram too, because yeah, we would like to get those numbers up. But I guess I think it's probably the shareability of Facebook. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff that we post, like
Wow.
Whitney does, die free list all the time, and those get shared
That's a good one.
thousands of times. And
Oh yeah.
like she said, we're making content that's not necessarily always about the film. A lot of times it's just about
Shareable.
like a lifestyle.
Useful and helpful information.
Yeah. So